Tonight we have the latest Hollywood headlines with Connor Fak, a new rant from Chauncey Baker, and a special actors spotlight with Holly Wellman.
All this and more is coming your way. Don't go anywhere because The Real Deal starts now. Welcome to another episode of The Real Deal, Ball State's one and only entertainment news show. I'm Kaylee Russell.
And I'm Andrew Bennett. Here at The Real Deal, we pride ourselves in keeping up to date on what is going on in Hollywood. Connor Fak is here to keep you in the loop with this week's Hollywood headlines. Connor?
Thanks, guys. I'm here with the latest headlines to come galloping over those beautiful Hollywood hills, as well as from elsewhere. First, some corporate news. As soon as next week, Lionsgate Entertainment is expected to close a deal to sell about half of TVGN to CBS. You might remember TVGN better as the TV Guide network, but the channel actually underwent a rebranding last year in order to reboot their image from simply a channel of scrolling program listings. These days, TVGN is an option in about 80% of American homes, but only about actually 12% feature the scrolling lists actively on the screen. Instead, the network carries a diverse mix of syndicated shows like Ugly Betty, in addition to movies, specials, and original series such as Celebrity Style Story. The acquisition price for CBS to gain control of half the network is expected to fall around $100 million, which itself is less than half of what Lionsgate paid for the entire network in 2009, then paying $250 million. Well, the deal will include TVGuide.com. TV Guide magazine is a separate entity that is owned by OpenGate Capital and will not be part of the deal with CBS. Still, the move gives CBS control of their first advertiser-supported basic cable general programming network since their 2009 split with Viacom. How exactly they'll use TVGN remains to be seen. Also in the financial era, we have a further confirmation that this whole online streaming thing might still have some competition after all. The investment firm of Gordon Brothers Europe recently announced its intention to purchase the entire British sector of the former retail giant Blockbuster. Legally a separate entity from parent company Blockbuster US, Blockbuster UK has managed to hold out for a little longer than its American cousin. While our version filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy a few years ago, Blockbuster UK has continued to operate 264 stores throughout Britain, employing around 2,000 people. Now, surprisingly, since Gordon Brothers are known as a highly successful restructuring firm, they've elected to keep these stores in operation for the foreseeable future. A statement from the firm said that they plan to invest in the company so as to enhance the customer experience through the use of new product offerings, new technologies, and better basic retailing. Yes, that means if you're still looking for a place to rent old VHS tapes, you can do so in Europe. And finally, to steer things back to on-screen instead of behind it, a word on the latest HBO film, Phil Spector. Its debut on the channel last Sunday created quite a stir among critics, music fans, and historians alike. While the opening titles blatantly state that this is a work of fiction, the film nevertheless centers around the real-life events in the life of the titular character. Phil Spector has had two great periods of fame in his life. The first in the 1960s for creating the wall of sound concept in musical recording, executive producing albums for the likes of Tina Turner and the Beatles. The other in the 2000s for a trial accusing him of murdering a young woman in his palatial mansion. The film focuses on the latter. The project has had two names, big names, attached with it, Broadway legend David Mamet directing and starring Al Pacino in the title role. The skill of both these great men makes for a captivating 90 minutes, a ride in which you'll alternatively certain first about Spector's guilt and then of his innocence. If you can catch it again, it's worth a look for a beguiling glimpse into how facts can get twisted around in the telling. So beguiling, in fact, that you forget how ridiculous even Al Pacino looks with Spector's giant hair. I'm Connor Fak, and this has been Hollywood Headlines.
Thanks, Connor. Well, it looks like it's time for our first break.
When we come back, Aidan Hall will bring out the dark humor inside us in this week's Top 5, and we'll find out why Chauncey Baker is annoyed with Jim Carrey in the Rant. Stay tuned.
See how fragile I am. Only kidding. Thank you for your thoughts, Corinne.
You wanna go out sometime?
Yes.
I mean with me.
Oh, yes.
of America doesn't negotiate with terrorists.
Who said anything about negotiating?
So beautiful. DreamWorks The Cruise.
Welcome back. I don't know about you, but I am more than ready for some nice spring weather.
To help you beat the winter blues, Aidan Hall is here with his latest top 5. What is on your list this week, Aidan?
Thanks, guys. It seems that spring in Indiana is a cruel and merciless joke. When you think paradise is at your door, bam! It's a Jehovah's Witness of winter shame a-knockin'. And so, dear viewers, I present to you my top 5 most cruel comedies. Number 5, The Big Chill. Speaking of cold and sadness, no movie is more depressingly funny than The Big Chill. Released in 1986, this film stars Jeff Goldblum and Glenn Close and begins with a rendition of Rolling Stone's You Can't Always Get What You Want. After everyone leaves a funeral, you will feel bad to laugh, but with the cold snaps we've been having, by the end of the film, you just might find it warms your heart indeed. Number 4, The Life Aquatic with Steve Azuzu. In 2004, Bill Murray starred as Steve Azuzu, a marine filmmaker who must go on one last mission, to kill the imaginary jaguar shark who killed his partner. This film also starred Owen Wilson and, like The Big Chill, features Jeff Goldblum, and is incredibly dark. Most of the scenes are very subtle, but when you get the jokes, you'll have a tear in your eye and a tear in your gut from laughing so hard. Number 3, Fargo. In 1996, William H. Macy got in a little over his head and needed some cash quick. And that's when an idea hit him. I'll kidnap my wife! Fargo tells the tale of two inept, bumbling buffoons of men that try to get away with kidnapping and murder. But the sheriff of their small town is fast on their trail as things quickly spiral out of control. The movie's incredibly twisted and you'll laugh as all the pieces of the puzzle fall right out of the box. Number 2, Office Space. Mike Judge, the creator of King of the Hill, probably one of the most bland cartoons out there, certainly has a very dark mind. And it's shown beautifully in 1999's Office Space. The film stars Ron Livingston as a cubicle captive that hates his life. However, after a hypnotist keels over mid-hypnotism, our hero learns just not to care and begins to fight the system with his friends Michael Bolton and Samir. The film also stars Jennifer Aniston and is beautiful from start to finish. And at number 1, Suicide Kings. Nothing says a beautiful movie like Christopher Walken. And in the 1997 film, he plays a mafia don that gets kidnapped by a bunch of college kids who get in over their heads when one of their friend's sisters gets kidnapped herself. The film stars Dennis Leary, Jay Moore, and a pre-Big Bang Johnny Galecki. The film is as dark as it gets, and you'll be surprised at how fast it escalates. And there you have it, dear viewers, my top 5 dark comedies. So while Mother Nature pulls another cruel one on you, remember old Aidan's around to make sure you're laughing too hard to notice. I'm Aidan Hall, and this has been the Top 5.
Thanks, Aidan. I don't know if I should feel happy or depressed.
Well, if there were ever a genre to describe my current feelings about the late spring, nothing beats dark comedy.
Speaking of comedy, Chauncey Baker has a few things to say about a certain comedian turned actor's career choices in The Rant.
What's bugging you this week, Chauncey?
What do The Mask, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, and Liar Liar have in common? That's right, you guessed it! Jim Carrey starred in all of those films. Ever since I was a little kid, I have laughed my butt off to the physical comedy of Jim Carrey. I mean, come on, how could you not laugh at a man beating himself over the head with a toilet seat simply because he couldn't tell a lie? Yeah, he's been in a few stinkers over the years, most notably The Grinch. Yes, I know, it's a staple of my childhood. But I'm sorry, it's not as good as you remember it. He was also in the atrocious adaptation of A Series of Unfortunate Events. Terrible. Simply terrible. Aside from comedy, Jim Carrey has proven that he could seriously act in the film that predicted reality television 10 years before its popularity with The Truman Show. And how could you forget his Oscar-worthy performance as Andy Kaufman in the criminally underrated Man on the Moon? After Carrey made the 2003 sci-fi romantic comedy film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Bruce Almighty, his career has taken a downward spiral. Mr. Popper's Penguins? It's a great children's novel, but it just doesn't translate well to film. It might have something to do with him hooking up with Jenny McCarthy and being all high and mighty Mr. Social Activist. Thankfully, they're no longer together, but his film career has not recovered. He's co-starred in what looks like to be the tremendously mediocre The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, with Steve Carell, another comedian who needs to get his career back on track. Please, Jim, please! Stop taking the Nick Cage route and taking any part that lands on your agent's desk. I beg of you, for the sanity of your friends and for the sake of your career. I'm Chauncey Baker, and this has been The Rant. Alrighty then.
Thanks, Chauncey. Well, it's just about time for our next break.
And when we come back, Aaron Beal will tell us about his guilty pleasure, and Holly Wellman will give us the scoop on the actor in one of the biggest movies of the past year in the Actor Spotlight.
Stick around. Glad you stuck around. We all have that one show or movie that we may or may not be ashamed of enjoying.
Our very own Aaron Beal is brave enough to share his. Take it away, Aaron.
I have something that I need to say. A few weeks ago, I watched a film. This is hard. Not only did I sit through the entirety of Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill, I didn't hate it. Look, it was late, I was tired, it came on the TV, the remote was way across the room. I know I should have gotten up and changed the channel, but I didn't. I chose to sit back and let it happen, and I have to live with that. I suppose I should give you a plot synopsis for those of you who are living in blissful ignorance. Adam Sandler stars as Jack, a successful advertising executive with a happy life and a loving family. Then his twin sister Jill shows up for Thanksgiving. Adam Sandler also plays Jill. He plays both Jack and Jill. There's hijinks and physical comedy. Johnny Depp makes a cameo wearing a Justin Bieber shirt, and it's funny. You'll have to forgive me if I'm a little vague on details. I just really couldn't justify the stigma of having seen Jack and Jill more than once. Academy Award winner Al Pacino is in this movie, and he plays himself. After making a habit of phoning it in movie after movie, it's unfortunate that Pacino chose Jack and Jill to really give it 110%. Honestly, it's Pacino's best film work in recent memory. Toward the end of the movie, he raps. Al Pacino raps about Dunkin' Donuts, and it's magnificent. You think it's easy looking in the mirror every morning that the man in the reflection laughed several times during Jack and Jill? Well, not several, more like a few, but more than I should have, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Moderately enjoying Jack and Jill has made it plainly evident that I'm a flawed human being. Cut me and I will bleed. I'm not going to recommend you watch Jack and Jill because that would be a mistake. I just wanted to do the responsible thing and offer myself up as a cautionary tale. When my friends found out what I'd done, they stopped talking to me. My own mother won't return my phone calls, and my girlfriend of 3 years stayed as long as she could, God bless her, but I just wasn't the man she fell in love with anymore. Regular viewers of The Real Deal might notice that I'm wearing the same shirt I wore for the last show. This isn't a coincidence. I've been wearing the same clothes for a week. Jack and Jill is my guilty pleasure, and I hate myself every day for it. That's all I have to share, I guess, and in the end, what does it really matter? For guilty pleasure, I'm Aaron Beal, whatever that name even means anymore.
Thanks, Aaron. Don't worry, you're not alone. I know Andrew secretly loved Jack and Jill, too.
Wait, what?
Well, look at the time. It looks like Holly Wellman is here with the latest Actor Spotlight. Who are we learning about this week, Holly?
Les Miserables is a fantastic ensemble piece, so it's hard to pin down a certain actor to focus on in this week's Actor Spotlight. But one fresh-faced young man really holds his own against the A-list superstars in the film. I'll give you a hint. He plays Maurice, the lover of Cosette. Yes, I am talking about the delightful Eddie Redmayne. Sure, he's an incredibly talented actor and singer who not only won the hearts of his beloved, but of audiences everywhere. But did you know he was also a model? Seriously, is there anything he can't do? Sure, he's famous now, but I'm sure some of you don't know where he got his start. Redmayne was raised in London and was the only one in his family to pursue a career in acting. He made his first stage appearance in a production of Oliver as a workhouse boy and continued acting through school and university. Fun fact, he was even a high school classmate of Prince William. Redmayne's professional stage debut came in 2002 when he appeared for Shakespeare's Globe Theatre in Twelfth Night, and 2 years later he won the award for Outstanding Newcomer at the 50th Evening Standard Theatre Awards for his performance in The Goat or Who is Sylvia. He continued to conquer the stage as he delivered a critically acclaimed performance in John Logan's art hit Red. For his performance, he won an Oliver Award for Best Actor in a Supporting Role in 2010. he revisited the role again when the play went to Broadway in 2010. And what a surprise, he won a Tony Award for Best Performance by a Featured Actor in a Play that same year. Okay, you get it now, right? He's great on stage. But as you can imagine, he quickly began to overtake television as well as film. From Robert De Niro's thriller The Good Shepherd to Savage Grace to Yellow Handkerchief, it seems that Redmond can't get enough of the spotlight. And who can blame him? In a daring career move, he went in a completely different direction of his usual roles to star in 2012's Hick, when he takes an unhealthy interest in a 13-year-old protagonist. Unfortunately, the movie was heavily bashed by a majority of critics for its disturbing and violent nature and was cast out of many theaters due to its limited release. In one of his more memorable performances, he was singing alongside Hollywood heavyweights Michelle Williams and Kenneth Branagh in the 2011 film My Week with Marilyn. Of course, this wouldn't be the last time audience would see him in a lead role next to seasoned actors. And that brings us to his role in Les Mis, where he not only proves that he's great to look at and a brilliant actor, but he also has a wonderful singing voice too. And that's what makes Eddie Redmayne step into this week's Actor Spotlight. I'm Holly Wellman. Stay fabulous and classy.
Thanks, Holly. Based on Redmond's fantastic performance in Les Mis alone, I know it won't be the last time we hear from him.
Well, it looks like it is time for our last break. When we come back, we'll have the latest edition of our final word. But first, here's a look at some of the films that will be coming to theaters this weekend.
Stick around.
It's not human.
Till we stop acting human.
I miss everything about her, and I would do anything to get her back. I gotta know, is Melanie in there?
Most women can't handle the kind of emotion that I bring.
He gonna take you straight to hell.
Welcome back. It's time to wrap things up with our final word. After you, Kaylee.
Your favorite improv comedy show is coming back to the small screen. Yes, I'm talking about Whose Line Is It Anyway? Announced at the beginning of this month, the show will feature the return of original cast members Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery, and Wayne Brady. Also, each week there will be a new special guest comedian. Aisha Tyler from the shows Archer and The Talk will host. Sadly, this means that Drew Carey will not be involved with a revived show, but I'm hopeful that it will still be just as good. I mean, I absolutely loved Whose Line Is It Anyway as a kid, and my family and I religiously watched it every week. It will air on the CW this summer, so make sure you don't miss it. And if you're like me and can't wait that long, you can watch reruns of the show on YouTube.
For my final word, I would like to talk about a film that I finally had the opportunity of seeing over this past weekend. I'm talking about David O. Russell's Oscar-nominated rom-com, Silver Linings Playbook. I have little doubts that you have heard of this movie already, but I felt a strong urge to talk about it since it has been on my mind since the moment the credits stopped rolling. I'll just come out and admit it, I do not generally like romantic comedies. There, I said it. No matter how funny they may be, I usually can't get over how formulaic and predictable they are. Very early into Silver Linings Playbook, I knew how it was going to end. I just knew it. And I was expecting for that to turn me off. But this time it didn't. I was thoroughly invested in the thing for the entirety of its 2-hour running time. This is a credit to the truly incredible performances of the actors. We have some big names here, most notably Jennifer Lawrence, Bradley Cooper, and Robert De Niro. No one performer is better than the other. They are all perfect in their roles of seemingly everyday people struggling with mental illness. The chemistry between Cooper and Lawrence is fantastic. I was aware of Lawrence's ability from previous films, but Cooper really surprised me here. He has really come a long way from his Hangover days, and I expect to see him truly developed into a serious dramatic actor. And De Niro has never been this good in a while. He hasn't been this good in a decade. He delivers some of seriously the most funny and emotional moments in the film as the father to Bradley Cooper's character. He obviously loves his son, but he also suffers from mental illnesses of his own. All in all, I love this movie because it was a rom-com that made me see the genre in a new and positive light. It may not be what you were expecting, but that's not at all a bad thing.
Well, that's it for this week. Be sure to check out our Twitter and Facebook pages for updates on all things entertainment. Until next time, I'm Kaylee Russell.
And I'm Andrew Bennett. See you next week.